You're definitely interrogated.
No more interrogation than I interrogate you with my text messages on a daily basis.
Please, I can only imagine. Ugh. It'll catch up. I don't know why. His video should catch up. There it goes. All right, there we go. All platforms are dinging. We should be on. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep. No, that's perfect.
it doesn't matter. Only like 3 people watch live, anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, it is Skippy, huh? Did you see that? He morphed across the room. He was like,
Morphed. Oh, now he's back. All right, there we go. All right, guys. We're back on the outdoor
Hi,
drive
good.
with Tim Sheffield. Tim, how we doing, buddy?
Doing great, guys. How are you?
Good, man. We appreciate you jumping on. I know you're on vacation, saltwater fishing, living the life down there on the shores. So we appreciate you jumping on with us.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is really cool.
So why don't we just kick this thing right in, man? Why don't you tell us a little bit of who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do?
All right, yeah, my name's Tim Sheffield. Avid outdoorsman. Pretty much everything other than hunting, but I'm about to try to scratch that off the list here in the next year or so.
nice.
Avid fly fisherman, born and raised in Mystic, Connecticut. Where I am on Mason's Island, which is in the mouth of the Mystic. We got a dock in the backyard and a largemouth pond in the front yard, so there's no way I couldn't be a fisherman. My dad is an avid fisherman as well, and he got the fly rod out in my hand as early as he could. Yeah, so I mean, started off pretty much live lining for largemouth bass with Sonny. Our bass pond was an ice pond, Mason's Island, and over the years, the fish went from probably like a 3-pound average to a 6 or 7-pound average, and that's where they sat for most of my childhood, which was amazing. They were like my pets. So live lining and catching lots of big bass it was fun, but it got kind of old, and my dad got the fly rod in my hand, and it took a little while, I'm not gonna lie, and there was a couple of days where I almost broke the thing over my knee, but eventually hang of it, and
bass bugs,
fishing gurglers, so the first, and that would do the trick. And then after I got the hang of that on the pond, I moved to fishing the salt and catching stripers. I was catching on average 40 to 50-inch stripers at sunset, August through September. The hickory shad run.
Hey, Tim. Tim, can you hear us?
I text somebody's on his phone, so I don't even know if he'd get it.
Like clockwork.
We can always run it back, fix it, and run it back.
Yeah.
The large fish
Tim.
would be waiting for him, and I'd be standing on the rock there as well. Even had a seal try to bite my feet one night. So, yeah.
Hey, Tim.
Just trying to keep them from wrapping those lobster pots was my biggest problem. But yeah,
he morphed.
Yeah. Yep.
No,
you're good.
you're
Tim.
good now. It was breaking up, and it was like we had nothing from the start.
Oh
Like it was
no.
just.
All right, I'm gonna play it outside, and we'll try it out here. It's probably gonna be easier. I'll just plug
The-
back in later on if I need to.
The
Where
other
did we leave off?
the other thing that might help too, Tim. Sometimes the phone's slow. Like if your Wi-Fi's turned on, sometimes turning off your Wi-Fi will actually make it faster.
So it was off, and when I turned it on was when I reappeared to you guys. So I'm gonna leave it like this.
Okay.
Um,
You sound good now.
It
am I
sounds
solid?
good now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Where did
We
we
might
leave
just
off?
we might just start right from the beginning again. It just because we literally got nothing.
I heard about a seal taking your fly, and then that was about it.
All right. We can just restart from right. I'm sorry, Tim. I don't mean to do it to you.
It's okay. My bad, man. I mean, I should have had a stronger signal.
It happens.
It happens. All right. All right. We'll go hot in 3, 2, 1. All right. We are back on with Tim Sheffield. Tim, how we doing, buddy?
Doing great, guys. How are you?
Good, man. Appreciate you jumping on with us. I know that
Yeah.
you're down there enjoying the salt water, as we all had seen before. So why don't we kick this thing right off? Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do?
Yeah. So Tim Sheffield, born and raised in Mystic, Connecticut, Mason's Island specifically, which is in the mouth of the Mystic River. Yeah, so I was born with a freshwater pond in my front yard and a dock in my backyard, and um, started off fishing for largemouth bass and just live lining sunnies for bass. And by the time I was probably 14, the bass I averaged in our pond like 6 to 7 pounds. So I was fortunate to have that. By the time I was 14 or 15, my dad started saying, "Give that up," and put the fly rod in my hand. My dad's an avid fly fisherman and has been since he was, a teenager. So I think he did the smart thing and let me just get interested in fishing. And then as it kind of sunk in, I transferred to the fly and learned to catch the bass on foam poppers on the fly rod, and then moved to the stripers. And in the summers, off the rocks behind my house, I was catching 40 to 50-inch stripers on the fly pretty regularly at sunset when the hickory shad would get flushed out of the Mystic River. It was kind of normal to me. Unfortunately, that kind of has stopped over the years or slowed down over the years. We still have fun catching stripers, but it's nothing like it used to be. But no, I'm fortunate to grow up where I did, where I have. I've about 12 years ago, I bought a house in Coventry, Connecticut. I think Trevor, you live in that town up there. We live right on the lake there, and it's good to be about an hour away, just close enough to my parents and my in-laws where they help, but they're not always up our ass. Um, so yeah, I went to college out in Bozeman, Montana. My dad pretty much was like, get the heck out of Dodge, go find some fun out west. So instead of going to Colorado like a lot of my friends did, I chose Southwest Montana. And I'm glad I did. It was an amazing place to be, and I've been back a couple times since. And I learned the rivers out there pretty well. I rode the Yellowstone and drift boats a lot. I wade fished the Madison, the Gal, all the big rivers out there. I learned a lot about trout fishing. Never really trout fished in Connecticut until I came home. Very seldomly as a little kid, but learned that the Farmington was a really great fishery, and just kind of went from there. There's a lot of great water in Connecticut and Massachusetts. I fished the Swift a lot as well. Stuff that can stay cold during the summer, but not just for trout. I'm carp fishing and you name it. I haven't really gotten into pike or muskie, but lots of smallmouth fishing. largemouth, even like the smaller fish, I can find fun with. And I have a 9-year-old and a 13-year-old, and I'm not pushing it with them, but they love to go. And my daughter, who's 13, is really good at casting and really turning into a great angler. So that's really fun to watch. And a lot of times I can get my dad and my daughter out there together. It's 3 of us, and that's really special times.
Was it hard growing up and filling the shoes of your father, who is a legend in the fly fishing world?
Yeah, there were many a times where I almost broke the fly rod over my knee. He was kind of militant about teaching me how to fly fish, and I have to beat him off with a stick not to join this podcast right now. He's inside trying to like spy on me. I know it. Um, he eats, sleeps, and breathes fly fishing, and he's like Mr. Enthusiast. Like could only hope to have half his energy when I'm 75. It's really amazing. He's a certified casting instructor through LL Bean. He's a production fly tire and supplies almost a dozen shops in Connecticut and even outside of Connecticut. He is he's a saltwater guide, which just happened recently. He has been for 2 seasons now, which is just walk and wade. So he just takes people on like mostly the Rhode Island beaches and catches bass and false albacore and bonita from the sand, which is really awesome. There's a good amount of people that don't want to go out on the boat, and I get that. It's kind of daunting for some people, and it's a way that you can catch them without having to worry about drowning, I guess. So that's really cool. I'm proud of him for that. He guides out of Watch Hill Outfitters. They're great guys over there. There's a lot of business through that spot, and it's a great place if you haven't checked that out. I recommend it.
Tim, I got a good story for you that you'd probably appreciate. And I've been saving it for this podcast. So, not to get too carried away, like I recently like kind of got into fly fishing by finding my grandfather's old rod and caught a couple crappie and some pumpkin seeds, and like I made trout my mission. Like I got to figure out how to catch a trout, right? So I start going down the road and I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm getting my butt kicked. And like I remember this weekend, me and Trev actually went to a barbecue that day, and I had fished before, missed a couple fish. I'm at the barbecue with Trev, and like all I can think about is like I got to go back. I got to catch this fish. I got to figure out how to catch a fish, right? So I go down there, don't catch anything that night. But there was another guy down there, like nice guy. He's like kind of giving me a little bit of pointer, so I don't catch anything. I go back the next day. The same guy shows up. He's like, "Oh, you can't get enough of this place, huh?" And I was like, "Nah, man, I want to catch this fish." So he says, "Here, take this." Gives me, I think you know where I'm going with this. Gives me what he calls a sexy waltz worm.
Sexy waltz worm.
And teaches me how to tie a double davy knot, and shows me where to put it. I put it out there. I ended up catching like 2 nice trout that day, and I'm like,
yeah.
like I just
I mean,
caught
and that's so cool. And to be completely honest with you, I've heard that same story probably 20 times in the last 2 years from so many different people. Like he is literally the keeper of that pond, and he takes a lot of pride in it, and he loves teaching people, and that's why like the work for him. He's retired. He worked at the Foxwoods for like 30, but it's not work for him. It's what he loves to do. So, and he gets so much joy out of like teaching people, and it's really amazing. And it rubs off on me, and it rubs off on all the people that he's taught. And it's a really special thing. And it's not just about catching fish; it's about getting outside and creating like connections with other people. And I started a Facebook group randomly, like, I don't know, 7 years ago that I just made out of nowhere called Connecticut Catch and Release Fly Fishing, because I didn't see that niche group out there. A lot of the fly fishing and fishing groups have a lot of drama, and I was like, maybe I can start something that is like, really like where you're just going to learn stuff and meet people and not have to deal with all the jabronis out there. So at COVID made fishing and all of it just blow up. And we took on probably about 1,000 members and within 3 months. And now we're sitting at like 2,000. And I have 3 moderators and my dad as an admin. I have a conservation chair. I have this amazing woman that works for KRCT that teaches kids how to fly fish and works for DEP. And then I have a local friend in my neighborhood who's like a kind of a new fly fisherman. So I get that kind of perspective, and he's very passionate about it. So we kind of have all of our bases covered. It's no nonsense, and it's a really great environment. Any of the listeners want to join, feel free to request it. But yeah, it's just know that we're pretty strict about the rules, and it's catch and release. I know that might rub some people the wrong way, but it's not the place for showing your fish on a stringer, and that's just what it is. I'm not opposed to having fish for dinner, and I know a lot of the stock fish aren't going to survive the summer, and I'm not trying to bash anybody for keeping fish. I've cooked my fair share of fish camping and things like that. But we were in it for the long haul, and we know that a lot of these fish get caught multiple times, and memories are made from fish, and we see a positive to letting them go. And I feel like a lot of fly fishermen do that. So it's yeah, we're not trying to be elitist. We're trying to do the opposite. It's a welcoming environment. But it's a place where we can teach people how to correctly land fish that might not hurt them. And we have a lot of love for the wild fish too. And there's a little bit of a conundrum there. Like maybe you shouldn't be fishing for them if you really care about them that much. And that's a kind of a hard thing to balance, but we're here for it.
So
Hold on one sec, Trev. Just to tie it all back into full circle, Tim. So the funniest thing about that story I was telling you before was I'm down there fishing with your dad. I don't realize he's your dad at the time. So we're sitting there fishing, and he's got his what is it, CCRFF hat on.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, do you have Facebook?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Join this Facebook group." Da da da. Like, you got to answer the questions. I'll let you in, blah, blah. So I was like, "Okay, cool." Well, you were already high on my radar. Like, we've talked. We have a mutual friend. You were like suggested to be on the podcast. So like, you were already in the works to being a guest. And your dad, which I don't know is your dad at the time, he's like, "Yeah, join my Facebook group." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, he's like, "Yeah, we have like 2,000 followers." And I was like, "Oh, have you ever heard of a podcast before?" And he kind of like blew me off, didn't answer the question. So I was like, "All right, whatever." So I go home, I join the Facebook group. Cool. Like 2 hours goes by. Your dad makes like a Facebook post, welcome new members, Steve Mardick, I met him down at, the place and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Well, it says, posted by Phil Sheffield. And the post below that was Tim Sheffield. And I was like, oh, I can't believe I was just fishing. Like, it blew my crazy.
Nuts. Yeah, he's quite the dude. I just came to my car, so I stayed on charge. I want to make sure we don't have any more interruptions. But yeah, I mean, it almost gets annoying. Like, to be honest with you, like I'd call my dad for like some serious life lesson, like needs your input on things, and the first thing he said he wants to talk about is what worked on the water that day. And my mom can't stand it either, but it's amazing to have someone that's so passionate about somebody in my life, and it is really a positive thing. And he's such a cool guy. I'm like, you can't not rub off on you.
Yeah.
I'm not really huge into the tying thing, but he's amazing at tying flies, both fresh and saltwater. I mean, I grew up with a group of friends on the island, and we'd have like a tying club, and we'd like all tie flies, and we'd have them judged, and it was like a really cool. It wasn't just about the fishing. We made it more about everything, and sometimes we go out and not even fish, just look for fishy water. We call it trout scouting. Yeah, it's all encompassing. Trout Unlimited, we're big into Trout Unlimited. My dad is huge into Trout Unlimited. And there's a lot of positives to come from that as well. I think that organization still does definitely need a lot of work right now. There's a lot of old people, and it's really and that's what I think we're helping with our Facebook group. We're getting the youth involved, and we're trying to encourage all that stuff, the conservation especially. But yeah, I mean, I feel like over the last few years, I kind of started finding another passion in foraging. Just being out there in the woods got me looking at mushrooms a lot more. And I'm a chef by trade, so um, it was very interesting to me. And I kind of switched gears a little bit. I would go out fishing, and I ended up just mushroom hunting. So if the fishing's horrible, at least I can take something home to eat. And I've gotten really passionate about that over the last decade or so. And over the last like 4 or 5 years, I've gotten comfortable enough to start like feeding the family with mushrooms I find, and parts of identification groups, and um, foraging fiddleheads and foraging ramps. And but yeah, learning all about the mushrooms. I probably got about 15 that I'm super comfortable picking and taking home. And I really got into that, and I love that as well. Tried to start bringing my dad with me too, and he's found some. He's gotten into it too. Um, so yeah, that's another just way to get off the couch. Whatever gets you off the couch. My next thing
I
is going to be hunting, and I do have some questions for you guys about that. I kind of need to know where to start, and my gut wants me to start with turkeys, but I know most people start with deer. Um, I have that angling side to me where I feel like your input on that would be great too.
so the thing with turkey though, you got to be careful here, Tim. You're biting off a lot that to chew here because foraging is in the spring during turkey season. Trout fishing is in the spring
Yeah,
turkey
I
season. So you got
I
to
was
be.
listening to one of your podcasts last month, and you're like, sometimes you just do too much. You got to pick one thing, like you get like pulled in so many different directions. Um, it makes it really hard. I want to do everything at once, but I can't. Um, so yeah, I mean, stuff gets put on the back burner, and you feel bad about it. Like the fish are missing me. Um, but having that wider scope is always good too. And I feel comfortable enough that I can get back on that bike pretty easily if I switch gears. So
So
yeah, I mean, I've shot guns many times. I'm not stranger to. I mean, I went to college in Montana. My my dorm was 11 stories in the tallest building in Montana till 1995, and every floor had a gun locker. Um, they didn't want kids keeping their guns in their cars in the parking lot, so they literally had a gun locker on every floor of my dorm. Um, yeah, we go out and shoot guns in the woods, but I never really got into hunting. A lot of my friends are huge, big time elk hunters out there. So I've heard many a story, and I've seen many a elk. Spent a bunch of time in Yellowstone Park. Had run-ins with bears. One of them was really, really scary. But I'm here to tell about it.
So you being a fly fisherman as a young kid, you head to Bozeman for college. How long did it take before you got in the water? Like, was it very quickly? You're like chomping at the bit to get in the water out?
I moved out there right at Y2K. So, like literally a week before Y2K, I was in the dorm. Found my friend group pretty quickly. A lot of them were fly guys. And there was fishing to be had in the winter there, but you got to have some really thick skin. I mean, it's so cold. So yeah, I
Mm.
mean, I think the first 6 months maybe I went fishing a dozen times and caught some fish, but it wasn't anything crazy. My dad was like trying to egg me on, and but it's cold. But I eventually over the years I got used to that and would fish like the spring creeks in the winter, where the
Hmm.
water temperature stays steady. Um, if you can like get enough layers on you, and get to the river, you're good, So I had friends that were guides that would get me guide pricing, so I'd only pay like $20 to fish rivers that normally cost you $100. I didn't feel great about having to pay a day fee to go fishing, but gets the Jones off.
So how does that? What is that, like a trespass fee kind of thing, or?
So Armstrong Spring Creek and DuPuis Spring Creek are in Paradise Valley, and they both charge money per rod. I think in the winter it's like $80, and in the warmer months it's like 100, and that's changed over the years. The last flood that happened on the Yellowstone messed up a lot of that. But yeah, no, luckily I was there before Instagram and Facebook killed the fly fishing out there.
That's crazy. Does and I have a question for you when it comes to fly fishing, and especially even out west or even here. Like there's like a persona that comes with fly fishermen. Why is that there's that persona?
So I mean, some of that comes from where it started, and it was like the people that started fly fishing. I mean, it started kind of in America. It started in Roscoe in the Catskills in New York, and they were guys in tweed outfits and dress coats fishing only dry flies to rising trout upstream. It was very regimented and very sophisticated, and it still is in a lot of places in Europe. So I mean, it started off as like a waspy kind of like white male dominated pastime, and I mean that still sticks with no matter what we do. That's going to stick um, with fly fishing throughout. But those boundaries are being broken down. We're trying really hard to make it not like that anymore, but it still gets that like you're too good for me to be spin fishing, and don't hang out with the pencil sharpener guys or the bait chuckers. Like and there's stuff there that hurts too. Like every time I go to the river, not every time, but a lot of times when I go to the river and I see trash, it's obviously from people like using worms. So it causes a divide, like is there more respect for the resource if you're a fly fisherman? And like, I mean, that's kind of something that is a little bit valid, you know. And that's a hard thing to kind of get around. I love spin fishing. I'll have a blast. I mean, I've casted the spinning rod more in the last 2 weeks than I have in a long time. I taught my daughter how to spin cast for the first time 4 days ago. And she was like, "Well, I feel good at it, and I only did it for 20 minutes."
Mm.
And I'm like, "Oh, see, there, like, it took her like a year to get okay at fly fishing." So, I mean, if you want instant gratification, sure, but if you want to work at something hard and like have it feel more like a craft, something that you have to like
Mm.
really work to get good at, and that's more of a fly fishing thing. And I'm not trying to sit here saying that one's better than the other. It's just that's what I did as a kid, and that's what I like to do now. And I feel like I've helped a lot of people learn how to do it, and they've benefited from that as well. It is a weird dynamic, though. I'm not gonna lie, and I understand both sides of it. It's just a hard thing to break.
And my other question would be like, are you only a fly fisherman if you are dry fly fishing to a rising trout upstream? Like, does that is or is wet fly
No, I
fishing
fish junk, man. I'll put a Rapala on my fly rod. I don't freaking care, man. Um, And I'm not a purist. I will fish junk all day long. I like getting out. I like catching fish. I don't care at all. Like I will fish eggs. I will fish. Like if I knew how to put skein on my fly rod, I would totally do it. Like there's fly fishermen that think that the center pin guys are garbage. I'll fish right next to them as long drift over me every time. I'm cool with it. Um, it's yeah, and it's each their own. Some guys only want to fish dries, some guys want to strip streamers. I mean, I'm kind of a streamer guy, to tell you the truth. I like moving around. I like I like the aggressive, bigger fish, so I cover ground. I like to like put a couple casts in each spot and move on. There are guys that want to stand in the same spot all day long and fish dries, and they do really well, or fish Euro nymphing and just crush it and catch 40 fish out of a 20-yard stretch. I personally like mixing it up. I like casting. I like, fishing streamers. I like stripping, and that's probably it comes from starting off as a saltwater guy. So in the salt, you're blind casting a lot of the times. You're sticking the fly rod under your armpit and stripping both hands into a stripping basket, and you're coming tight, and it's just like it's a different thing, And I like that kind of that method. Works out for trout too, with big browns and articulated streamers, and it's really fun. You might only catch 4 fish in a day, but those fish are going to be quality, big, like apex predator fish, and I enjoy that a lot.
So that's kind of like in the bait casting world or the bass fishing world, where guys will only fish, big giant swimmers. Like, and they only literally just throw 12-inch rainbow trout swimmers to catch one
Yeah,
5-pound bass for the day.
yeah, quality over quantity. It's really to each their own. I mean, and you'll find that like especially with the Euro nymphing guys, they're fishing like 10-foot rods that are like 2/8, and it's very niche, and like so you're fishing mono. You're pretty much just dragging mono over fish, hooking them with little nymphs that are down in the zone, and just like pretty much flossing up fish all day. And I mean, it's fun to catch a bunch of fish. Don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like part of me thinks that's not really fly fishing. I like making long casts. I like hauling line. I like the feel of that. I like mending, and sometimes I'll use an indicator and or whatever, and um, I like being able to switch it up. So
Mm.
if I fish a 9-foot 6 weight with floating line, I can dry fly fish, I can nymph, I can streamer fish, all within, and I can do all 3 or whatever, all with the same setup. With Euro nymphing, you're stuck Euro nymphing, you know.
Mm.
So I have it, I've done it, it's fun, but it's not exactly my favorite thing to do.
Tim, I have a question for you right there, because you hit the nail on the head for me anyways, like having that versatility. Like when I hit the river, if nothing's rising, I can drift a nymph or throw a streamer, try to move some fish, and then switch over to a dry if I want. How do you go about with like leader and tippet setup? So you have your weight forward floating line when you hit the river. Are you changing everything ahead of your fly line between streamer and dry, and like maybe a nymph with the indicator, or are
Yeah,
you
so I mean, I guess it
typically?
kind of depends on where I'm going and what I'm doing in the time of year. In the fall, I'll be more like geared towards streamer fishing, but say in the spring when I really don't know what I'm getting myself into, I have maybe a 6 or 7 foot tapered leader that goes down to 4x, and then I have about a 2 foot 4 or 5x section of tippet off of that. And I will just tie on bugs as I need to until that 2 foot section of tippet gets short, and then I'll take that off and put it on a new 2 foot section of tippet. So I really try not to tie flies directly to my tapered leader. You
Mm,
can if you really want to, but you're just eating away money. Once that leader gets beaten up, I'll put a new one on. So there's a butt section of about a foot or a foot and a half of thick mono that I
hmm
tie my tapered leader to, and I just work off of that.
Yeah, no, I follow that. I guess my question was more: are you, when you hit the river, are you running the same tapered leader and tippet between streamer, nymph, and dry fly, or are you reconfiguring when you switch methods? I should say.
Yes, I mean primarily I won't change my leader. What I will do if I'm trying to fish dries is I'll build the leader longer. I've
Mhm.
actually built my own leaders a lot. Like I try to save money and buy every size down and build my own leaders. Um, it works. Maxima makes what you need to do that, and it does work. But um, yeah, tapered leaders are better. And I will, yeah. So dry fly fishing, depending on where I am, I will bring it down to 6x from 4 and tie in 4 to 5 to 6. Make the leader 9 feet if I have
Mm.
to. And also, like with streamer fishing, I could just use a section of fluoro and not even have a tapered
Right.
leader. So, I mean, if I know I'm just going to fish, like my dad created this fly called the Goldie. It's pretty much like a gold tinsel streamer, and it's pretty much like throwing a Mepps minnow, and it will catch anything. So if I know I'm just going to go out and fish Goldie streamers all day, I'll just have a 6-foot section of 3-pound test fluoro and just chuck streamers all day. But if I'm going to the Farmington and I don't really know what I'm going to get myself
How long did
into,
you say that?
I'll
How
have
long of a leader did you say you run when you throw a streamer?
3 foot.
6
Okay.
feet at
Yep.
most. Sometimes some 4 to 6 feet, depending on where water clarity and where I am. If it's really clear water, I'll keep it a little bit longer. And here's my dad trying to jump in as
He's
well.
coming in. He's coming.
He had to give me the hat, that one you were
Oh,
talking about.
CCRFF.
Thanks, Phil.
He's watching along too.
Give me the thumbs up.
So it's funny you mentioned the
Yeah, no,
because after I met your dad, I ran down to Watch Hell Outfitters because I had to get me some sexy waltz worms, right? And
yeah,
those those goldies caught my eye sitting there, so I picked up a couple of those too.
they are dangerous, man. And I almost have to like stop. I mean, that's another thing. Like, I really don't have to spend too much money on all this stuff because he's got just it coming out of his ears. He uses me as like a test, like a guinea pig, like he feeds me with bugs. I get the time on the water. I mean, not that he doesn't, but I take him out and I report back to him on what's working where, and he it's kind of a cool dynamic that way. I'm not gonna not take them. So he, like those goldies, he charges me. He sends me like a dozen every season, maybe 20 every season, and I literally like have to stop using them sometimes because it's just um, it's kind of silly after a while. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's like fishing a spinner on the fly
Yeah.
rod.
Well, it's kind of funny because I got my original sexy walt worm from your dad, and it was a 12, size 12, I think, or 4. Yeah, it was a 4. Yeah, 12. And I kept it. I took it home, like, so I got my sexy walt worm, right? But I wanted to get more, so I think it was a Sunday, and I hit your dad up. I think it was 2 days later. I hit him up on Facebook, and I was like, I wanted to make sure it was Watch Hell Outfitters. So I'm like, hey Phil, the place you said where I can get more of your flies was Watch Hell Outfitters, right? And he says, yeah. And I was like, size 12, right? That's what I was using. And he was like, yeah, but you're gonna want a 14 now because the caddises are hatching this, that. And I'm like, I'm new to this, so like it's a lot of information. And I'm like, it was 2 days ago. What 2 days?
Yeah,
That difference. And it was
it
like, all
can
right,
change pretty quick. There's the
yeah,
subtleties. That Waltz worm, that is also another, just it's a go-to confidence pattern. Um, it looks like it's an attractor pattern. It looks like everything. And it gets down. Like, let's just face it. Like, it needs to get in the zone. Same thing goes with the Goldie. It's got that offset hook or the jig hook on the eye. It's got the tungsten bead. It gets down in the zone fast, and it looks buggy. It's a no frills. There's nothing crazy to it, but it catches fish. That's a comp fly as well. That's the competitive fly fishing guys love that fly.
So my question is, like, for somebody that's just getting into fly fishing, or like we've kind of really kind of dove into it hard, like the whole thing is, like, when it comes to bugs in different times of the year, like, how does one person keep up with that? Like, how do they know to be able to load their box with what works and feel and build that confidence, because it's tough. You go there and they're like, oh, the duns, the mergers, the spinners, this. I mean, like, that's a lot to take on all at once if you don't know what's going.
Yeah, there's so much to it, and I mean, it comes with time. The entomology side of things is like expansive, and you can spend a lifetime just studying one of those, whether it's a mayfly or a caddis, or um, and that's where those attractor patterns come in. Start with a woolly bugger, start with a hare's ear, start with a pheasant tail. Choose like the flies that are gonna get you on the water and catch you some fish and get you interested in the sport. And you can just expand from there. There's variations on all those things. But the primary thing is to get you out there and get you connected before you get too frustrated with it. The worst thing is getting out there, getting tangled, getting caught in a tree, going home, being pissed, trying to do it again, not having any luck, getting frustrated. And then you're like, I'm not going to, like, why would I keep doing this, you know? So the best thing for anybody that's beginning is just to lean on the tried and true flies that work in almost any situation, like the Waltz worm or like my dad's Goldie, where you don't really have to match the hatch. They're going to look at it and say, that looks like something I saw recently. And like tractor patterns. That's the key. Dry flies, it's usually like um, uh, like elk hair caddis will catch fish almost anytime fish are rising. Parachute Adams will catch fish almost every time a fish is rising. So I try to tell people just get those flies in a couple sizes. Um, it's usually 14 or 16, maybe 18. I can't really stand having to tie on little tiny bugs. Like sometimes that's what it takes, but like personally, like I'd rather not like get myself all pissed off not being able to tie a fly on for 15 minutes. I'd rather just fish, you know? So for me, like I'll go up a size if I know I'm like kind of frustrated. Um, Making sure your flies have their eyes clear before you go fishing is a huge thing too. Um, Little things like that can make or break you.
Yeah, because it can definitely be frustrating, like especially if you're newer into it and not having the right thing. Like you get to the river and it might be, one fly over another one, like and you don't even know what to do. You know what I'm saying? So to keep it simple is or have the right thing, because you can dive down those rabbit holes and be completely lost. Like it's crazy.
It is crazy. So, like, I recommend joining a group like ours, finding mentors, meeting my dad, meeting me.
Look
People
what he
that'll just, we'll take people on the river. I've taken so many people on the river after, like, just having conversations with them on Facebook. I want to go fishing. I want to fish with people. Trust me, I love fishing by myself too, but it's really cool to be able to help people learn the sport. And it's little things that make a big difference. And if you can have the right, like, person with you that'll show you the way, it helps a lot. And
so
hire a guide, hire my dad, he'll take you
yeah.
fishing or whatever it takes. um, you can cut that learning curve down tremendously by surrounding yourself with the right people and the knowledge that you need. And also it's not instant gratification. Sometimes it takes putting work in. um, it's it's a tricky thing, and sometimes it just takes trying it and sticking with it. But once you get it, you got it. And, it's one of those things.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there with, not needing instant gratification, especially with fly fishing, because like it truly is a craft. Like it's an art form. And I think that's what makes it so special, because it's like the cast is an art. The
Okay.
presentation is an art. And like being able to like get that bug where it needs to be and present it right to get that fish to hit it and land that fish is so much more rewarding than
Right.
just ripping them out of a hole.
So,
And like
like, should I think I can go out with a bow and shoot a turkey without ever hunting before? Probably not, right? I
yeah,
mean, as much as I'd love to, and I have friends that do it, and I think I can shoot a bow. But I don't know. Um, I don't know the first thing about hunting. It's the kind of a similar thing. Like I would have to put time in. I need to go to the range. I need to get the right equipment. I need to like get good at shooting a bow from distance. And I know that takes practice. And that's what fly fishing is kind of like too. But whereas you can go to Walmart, get a spinning rig, buy a Mepps minnow, and go catch some fish on day one, fly fishing isn't the same thing, really.
Yeah. Tim, I'm in my backyard practicing casting. What other form of fishing do you go outside and practice?
On the grass, you get so many looks, man. I mean, you catching what are you catching? Tree trout, or you know, yeah, the people think that's so funny. But you know, you do what you got to do. You can't always be on the water. So
I think the simplest thing in fly fishing, and one of the things that I truly honestly enjoy, is taking a 7.6 or an 8 foot two weight and going and catching sunfish. Like, it's the greatest thing in the world. Like, there
it's
is
the
no
OG.
better than it. Like, I don't. When I was a kid, it was my
So much fun.
to do. Like, you go to Walmart, you buy the shittiest flies that you can possibly
Yep.
find,
They'll eat it.
lake, and just have them eat it all the way down to a
So
hook. Like,
literally, the sunnies are the gateway drug, man. That's what gets kids involved, and that's what I try to like. Don't start with trout. Like that's like I mean, at least especially for kids, like get the kids out, get them catching fish. I mean, take them to a trout derby or something, sure, but those sunnies are going to eat your fly. I mean, Coventry Lake has rock bass that are just so eager, just want to eat all the time. Um, yeah, I mean, I had my daughter catching rock bass at the age of 3 on the fly rod by herself. She doesn't even remember it, but that's in her blood for sure. Um, yeah, it's definitely the gateway drug, getting you into it. I mean, that's what I did.
it was my nephew 2 weeks ago, literally down fly fishing on the lake, and he was there, and I'm casting it for him, and I'm just like, here, I hold the rod, and he just strips it. He's 3 years old. Just strip this thing.
Yep,
Just pull,
yep,
pull, 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 and the
yep.
thing comes up and gets it. He's like, we got
Uh,
another. Like, it's just one
so
after,
fun, man.
dude. It's just crazy. It's
It's a great time. I mean, I similarly, been taking my kids crabbing, being on the island here. We actually had a 5 foot dogfish come in on us and eat a
So
hot dog in half while we were down there. And it was like one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. And it gets me back into my younger days. And I think my dad did the same thing with me, and it keeps you youthful, having the kids with you. Um, and fly fishing, it's not exactly for little kids. It takes a lot more work, and it's a little bit more dangerous. You got stuff flying all over the place. I definitely make my kids wear sunglasses. Um, but these are so much to it. Learning how to tie, learning all the knots, learning the bugs, and um, it's really cool. Not like I said, nothing against spin fishing. I mean, that's what got me into the sport to begin with. And I still enjoy that immensely. I have friends that don't want to touch the fly rod. I'll still go with them. I'll bring the fly rod on the boat, and we'll do both. But yeah, it's really cool. I've traveled a lot. I've been to Belize catching bonefish. I've steelhead fished the Pacific Northwest. Didn't really do very well up there, but it's really tricky in the winter. I've fished Altmar, Pulaski. I caught a steelhead a couple years ago up there on the fly in the fly only zone. Um, travel all over the place to fish. Fished the Delaware, fished the Catskills, Willowmick, and the Beaver Kill. And obviously, like I said, all over Montana, Colorado, Wyoming. Fished a lot in the park. It's taken me in some incredible places that I would never have been had I not been a fly fisherman. So I owe a lot of the best times of my life to that sport and that passion, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's really a cool thing.
talk a little bit about the trip to Belize, because I've been watching a lot of bone fishing lately, and it looks like an absolute blast.
Oh, that's amazing. So yeah, my wife and I went to Belize on our honeymoon, and luckily she was considerate enough to let me go on a full day trip with a guide. She went with us. She was just sunning on the boat. I think it was about 100 degrees out. So, but there are tons of bonefish in Belize. We stayed in a place called Ambergris Key. which is a island off the coast, and so a little puddle jumper from Belize Airport to Ambergris Key. We stayed at like a resort with a thatched roof hut. 10 nights. Um, and there were bonefish right off the dock too. So I think I caught a couple fish from the dock before I even went on the trip. But on the trip, I think I caught a dozen fish in the full day, and my arm was shot. So I think, like I told you last night in some texts, I feel like it's maybe 37 times harder fighting fish than the trout, but the same size. They take you on multiple runs into backing multiple times, and they're invisible. I mean, literally, when you're like, they could be 20 yards in front of you, and you're up on the top on the deck of the boat, and you do not see them. They are ghosts. You can see their eyes a little bit. You're gonna see them when you spook them, and they're gonna all just take off on you. It's very subtle. It takes long casting, double hauling far, and a perfect presentation. You got to listen to your guide. If you don't listen to your guide, you're not going to do well. Um, it takes a lot of patience, and it's tricky. Especially, I mean, fighting the fish is hard too. Usually, they're like they fight even harder than the false albacore around here. I feel like, but even just getting them to the boat, like they've fought you for 5-10 minutes, and you think they should be just done. Nah, you can't even hold them. They're just full of piss and vinegar. It's like yeah, I think half the fish that I caught I couldn't even get a picture with because they just did not want me anywhere near them. They're incredible, man. I had a couple shots on permit, and I wanted to try to get in some juvenile tarpon, but I screwed up. I botched my permit shots, and we didn't have time to get the tarpon. But time of my life catching the bones, and I really love to go back. My dad is passionate about bonefish as well. He fishes Andros in the Bahamas. He's been there, I think, 3 or 4, maybe 5 times. South Andros is like the one of the meccas of bone fishing, and he can tell you it's a kind of a great, well, at least was a great spot for DIY. So you could just go there and walk the flats and do it yourself if you really know what you're doing. Um, yeah, check out South Andros and Belize. I mean, Belize has a lot of fish. They're not as big as some places, but there's a ton of them. So it's a good place to kind of cut your teeth. I feel like South Andros has more quality fish, though.
Is it anything compared to like catching carp on the fly? Are they like one and the same?
I mean, if you had to talk about their brains, yes.
Oh,
Um, maybe not the beauty,
yeah.
um, but the brains, yes, they're very picky. They'll go up to it and smell it, and they're very similar in that way. Shrimp flies work for both of them, like big, ugly, weird, dumbbell-eyed shrimp flies work for both. So that is similar. I caught a 17-pound carp on the fly 2 summers ago at the lake, and there were some kids crying because they didn't want to go swimming anymore because after seeing that thing. So yeah, no, that's really fun. I mean, it took me into backing. It felt like I was almost like I was catching a striper. So
What?
I was worried that the water skiers were going to break me off on their props. It went all the way out to the middle of the Coventry Lake on me. So that was pretty fun.
What is the steps and procedures to even get yourself in front of something like that? Because that's like, especially on the lake, like it's not like you can just blind cast for them. Like, are you baiting
No,
to catch them, or like
um,
no?
I'm not afraid to say that my friends were there early in the morning with some stuff to throw in the water.
Okay, so you got to. Hey, listen,
Like
you
I
got to.
said, there's no shame here, man. It's like
No,
if it takes throwing some corn out there and getting them around you, and then changing it out for something else, then it gets you on fish. I've
that's what
had
I
them
thought
come up
about.
to me while I'm fishing the lake there. Um, right at Lakeview Terrace where I am, there's a really steep drop off, and they come up into the shallows. I've had a couple of very large, probably 30-pound class fish swim up to me while I'm fly fishing. And at first, I had no clue that they got that big in that lake, and it actually scared the piss out of me. Like a golden retriever sized fish swimming up to you, like what the hell? Um, but yeah, no, it's a great fishery. I love it there. It's um, cleaner than a lot of the water around. I lived on Bolton Lake for a long time, or 2 years, and that was always warm and always kind of gross to me. Coventry's, colder, and I feel like it just has a better variety of fish. But the walleye, I catch walleye on the fly in Coventry Lake. Um, the trout they put in there are easy to catch. I've even got one of the lake trout they put in there. Um, yeah, you name it, man. That place got almost everything other than pike.
So it's the second cleanest lake in the state I mean, it was at one time, was the second
Yeah.
cleanest lake in the state. The great thing about that is now they have the sewers around it, so it's really cleaned it up since like
Yep.
my childhood, being born and raised there. Like, and it is a really good fishery. I'm excited. I'm actually moving back on the lake, so I'm super excited to be able to fly fish it. That's why I was picking your brain on the carp thing. Like, I'm not afraid to say I'll bait them in, no problem. Because I
Sure,
remember
dude.
we used
And
to.
they come in, man. They love that stuff, and then you just got to switch it up. But the walleye are getting really big there too. A friend caught a 36-incher this past winter. There's a lot of big fish in there.
That's awesome.
I have a carp question real quick. So I always think of carp, like every time I ever see carp, they're like in the shallows, like in the grass rolling or whatever. In a river this time of year, will they move out to the middle of the river? Or is that something?
They will. They hunt around. I've caught them on the Hockenham on nymphs, trying to catch trout, and sizable ones as well. Not even knowing that they're in front of me. Fishing deep runs, just like blind fishing with an indicator. Um, so yeah, I mean, they're not specifically always in like the shallow grassy areas. They can, especially when they're in the rivers, they're moving all around.
My dad lives on the Quinnebog, and
Yep.
he keeps seeing something like slap in the water out like in the middle of the river, and a bass
Mhm.
fisherman had come through and told him it was a carp, and I wasn't sure if that would be true or
So
not.
there's a couple spots on our lake that the carp breach, and nobody really knows why they do it. Maybe they just do it because they can. There's a spot near Patriots Park where this guy old timer told me that there's a carp that breaches every morning, and he sees them come pretty much out of the water. Who knows? But yeah, no, they do breach. It definitely could
So
be a carp.
I can touch on that real quick. So the thing with carp, two different things. This time of year is a breeding time for them. They'll chase the other ones around and kind of slap around. But the other thing that they do is, since they're a suck and blow fish, what they do is they suck their food off of the bottom, and what happens is they pick up a lot of grit and grind, a lot of stones and sand and stuff. So it's in their gills. So when they breach, they blow it all out. They get that
Yeah,
fresh air to go through their gills, and they blow it all out. So that's why they end up breaching in the deeper water, because all of their stuff is from the bottom.
that makes sense.
That causes them to breach like that. Yeah,
I
for
have some
sure.
friends that are huge into carp fishing that boilies like the European style where they got the crazy rigs and they camp out overnight, and um, they take it so seriously. It's really awesome. I mean, there's a lot of passion there. I respect it a lot. Mostly on the Connecticut River. But yeah, I mean, like I said, whatever gets you off the couch, man, like the stoke is real with a lot of this stuff, and I'm here for it. I I have been like kind of like super focused on fly fishing most of my life. So I would like to try out like that kind of carp fishing. I would like to try to catch pike on the fly. I think we have a fishery that has it kind of near us up in Coventry or Mansfield area. So I'm thinking about giving that a shot. And I think that would be fun. I'm not afraid to make a bunch of casts and not catch fish, but yeah, I know there's a bunch of that good fishing up in Massachusetts too. I fish the Deerfield here and there. I've started to fish that more often lately. I have some friends that guide up there, the Harrison brothers. They fish on some other streams that are amazing that I won't even mention on here, but that have humongous wild browns. So yeah, I mean, I caught my largest wild brown of my life in Massachusetts.
Really?
You know, it's you don't have to be out west in Southwest Montana to catch big trophy fish, trout at least. Um, yeah, the Swift has some amazing wild fish as well.
There's one fishery that is like super high on my bucket list or on my radar that I'm sure you've been to, and I'd like to hear you talk about a little bit, is the Catskills. And to me, and I hope you're versed enough to talk about it a little bit. The part of the Catskills that draws me the most is like rich in history.
Yeah.
Can you touch on that?
So I mean, yeah, the birthplace of fly fishing in America, the American Fly Fishing Museum up there is an amazing place that more people need to get involved with things like that. Um, Lee and Joan Wolfe, really the trendsetters for the sport, and Joan Wolfe is still alive, and she has I think the distance casting record for like 20 years. Um, she was the first woman to win the casting record, and she was up against a bunch of guys. And she held that title from I think the 60s to the 80s. She is an amazing person. She's I mean, I kind of the only person I could kind of relate to is my dad. I mean, it's just all about teaching people how to fly fish. She runs a school up there still, I think. Very involved, amazing writer, just an amazing person in general. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting her, but I've read a lot of her things. I even did, I think, one of my high school reports was on her. But it's the mecca of fly fishing in the East. Roscoe, New York, the Willowemic, the Neversink, the Beaverkill, even just the Delaware River system. All of that is just legendary water, holy water, we call it. It's it's a really special place. I've had the pleasure of fishing up there. I need to go more. I wish it was closer. The Delaware is amazing. I've had the most fun on the Beaverkill myself. And yeah, just quality fish, quality water. And I mean, there's a lot of water, so I think it's the pressure's not so awful. It's not as bad as you would think. There's some really popular pools like the Junction Pool of the Willowemic, where it's pretty tight. It's kind of like the church pool on the Farmington, if you know anything about that. But it's popular for a reason. There's a lot of fish and a lot of opportunity there. Just a lot of history, a lot of knowledge up there. And I recommend anybody that hasn't been up there to go and spend some time. There's a lot of cheap places to stay. Might be kind of cockroach hotel type of places in the Catskills, but bring a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with staying in a cockroach infested motel while you're fishing. I think that comes hand in hand. You just take the bugs with you to the river. I mean, isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Right. Yeah, exactly. You've been staying in 30 waiters all day. What's a bad hotel room?
Tim, I got one last question for you, man, before we cut it loose, and we kind of want to know is what drives you outdoors?
What drives me outdoors? That's a good question. Um, it's my church, to be honest. Like, um, people talk about religion and higher power and how you connect with something bigger than us. And um, I find my sanity and my peace, my moments of zen in the outdoors. And I like watching TV just like the next guy, and I will doom scroll just like anybody else. But I find my most peaceful moments um, in water, mostly outdoors.
Mm.
Um, and I don't know what I would do without that. It's in my DNA. It's what I love, and anything I can do to make that experience even better, I'm down for. So yeah, I think it's just a greater thing than I can even understand. But um, yeah, it's my church. it keeps me in line and keeps me happy. And I feel like a lot of people find the same peace in that outdoor setting.
I think that fly fishing brings you to that piece too. I think it's kind of crazy
Yeah.
in what it is and where it actually brings you, because sometimes being in that stream and the first thing in the morning and the ospreys are there or whatever the case may be, like it calms you. It's collectively just being part of one with nature. Um,
Yeah.
it's different. It's different. It's undescribably different.
Yeah, it definitely hits different for sure.
So Tim, where can they find you or find your Facebook group and kind
So, yeah, just my name on Facebook. My Instagram handle is Big Trout Bum, all one word, just straight up Big Trout Bum. I'm on Instagram a lot. I think I post a little bit more quality, outdoorsy stuff on my Instagram than I do my Facebook. I do a lot of my foraging stuff on the Facebook as well. Um, our catch and release fly fishing is catch and release Connecticut catch and release fly fishing, and feel free to ask to join that one. We love having new members, and it's drama free. And all we ask is you make a good introduction post and tell us why you love fly fishing. Don't be scared to tell us stories. We love hearing stories, and it's really full of amazing people that are happy to help. So check out Connecticut Catch and Release Fly Fishing. My father and I are the head admin. He's been doing more of the heavy lifting lately. Proud of him for that. He knows that I got my hands full with two little kids and um, a, a job that I love. I work at and I love it up there. So yeah, check out that group. Thank you guys. This is awesome. I hope you'll have me back
make
sometime.
sure you make sure you answer the questions when you join the group, or Phil won't let you in if you don't answer
That's
the
right.
questions.
We're a stickler for those questions. Answer the questions.
He warned me. He's like, if you're going to join, you better answer the questions.
Tim,
Well,
going
thank
back
you
on it,
guys.
honestly. Oh, absolutely. We appreciate you jumping on, and to be honest with you, we'd love to have you come back on and talk foraging. I'll tell you what, the foraging world, I'll leave it on this. The foraging world is a weird world, right? I'm a forager myself, but to try and get somebody in that to talk that's kind of a little level-headed is very hard to find in the foraging
Yeah,
world.
there's some kooky people in that realm for sure, man.
So, hey, for everybody else, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.
Thanks, guys.